Hello, friends. It's been a while since I posted, and I just wanted to share with you where I'm at. So, I have three updates for you. First, I'm moving back to donation-based services. So, I offer dreamwork and hypnosis for experiencers of missing time, extraterrestrial, non-human intelligence contact. These hypnosis services are offered in the framework of shamanic dreamwork. And so that means we'll work together to explore possible memories, possible contact in order to empower you to mediate your own real relationships with these real entities. And we'll go through a journey of education around what relationship these things have to the dream experiences that you can develop and cultivate through lucid dreaming or meditation practices I love discussing with my clients. So all of these services are once again donation based. About 2 months ago, I decided to change how I was doing work in order to support my family more. That change actually was not a good change because the entities I work with really do want this to be donation based. They believe this is a spiritual service. And like most spiritual shamanistic services, you can't commodify it. So why try? Now that leads me to a second thing. But before we move on, I just want to say if you want to contact me, do so through YouTube, through a comment, send me an email at daniel@dseti.org. Go to my website. I'm still updating that in terms of this return to the donation-based spiritual vocational service that I'm offering. I'm educated. I've got a master's degree in psychology. I've got two hypnosis certificates, and I've written a lot about this subject and done a lot of research. So happy to talk about that. But we're not commodifying that relationship and requiring a payment, actually. So it's a donation after the fact. Um, but that leads to a second thing, and I really want to show you because I will be kind of commodifying or productizing a new dream work experience based on AI and based on data-driven dream dictionary idea, database. If you've been paying attention to my work, you know that I like collecting together dream reports and I want to see what happens when we do that. And there's been just incredible developments with AI. So I'm going to bring us to show you what I've managed to create. Um, Hang on a second. Okay. I have this all set up for us. So I'm developing this website. It's called Somnalist. It's going to be a software as a service. It's AI. It's an AI dream journal. You can give it voice recordings. You can photograph your dream journal. It goes there. It pays attention to what you talk about. You can analyze it as your dream journal as a ask it to be a Jungian or do a method with it. It's so beautiful. I'm really excited to share this. But the thing I wanted to share to show you that I'm deeply committed to this practice is this is a map of the dream world and human knowledge about dreaming. And so this represents about a sample of 10,000 dreams from the sleep and dream database over here, this section. And then over here is the top results from a scientific database. It maps the Wikipedia understanding of sleep and dreams, and it also maps the LLM kind of understanding as deduced through prompting to Gemini. So this is really fascinating. All of this stuff is in a performant map that I could is you can scale 100x. It's just awesome, and I'm getting better and better at this. There's like one memory leak bug. I just haven't worked. I needed to take a break. I got a little burnt out, but this is This is a map of the dream world, right? And so we've got frustration in domestic landscapes. We've got nostalgic roots and future ambitions, and these sort of give us a sense as to what's going on. What's really interesting is that it clusters. This is based on clusters of meaning. So here, right, we've got dreams of teeth falling apart, right? And isn't that interesting? Over here, we've got crash dreams, right? And so it's just so amazing to me because I've been looking for ways to visualize the dream world, but as a map is just incredible. And this is how the AI kind of sees it. So I built out a whole AI that to use all of this data in a retrieval augmented generation system, right? So you ask the AI Gemini, hey, tell me about sleep and dreams. It will tell you whatever it knows from its system. This system actually is based on what you're seeing. So this is a visualization of the AI's knowledge map, um, which is amazing that so we've got the Labyrinth of Forgotten Dreams down here. I think that's really cool. And then there's this over here, naked speeches, right? And it just sort of clusters in meaningful ways. Um, and I can do this in a repeatable fashion. I've got three other maps cooking. One is about mapping all the entities people encounter in dreams and dreamlike phenomena, so that you can describe, hey, I saw this hat man who had red eyes, and it will map that and find similar ones and fit similar reports across psychedelics, UFO reports, any of the data stuff I'm looking at. And so this is really AI has given me the tools to build this sort of map. I just wanted to come over here to show off the knowledge base that this AI has, right? So like you ask Gemini, hey, tell me about sleep and dreams. It does so because it has a predictive model plus something else, plus some other training, and that's what you get out of the box from Gemini. But you don't know where the facts are coming from, and you don't know if it's grounded in literature, which is very important to me. So this map actually you can click in and you can get the fact of the matter, right? What fact are we talking about? And then you go, where is it grounded in literature, right? And so this AI gives you that, and this has you can talk to it in four different modes. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't want to show that right now. I'm showing off the map. I love just seeing. I love just seeing, right, this sort of like there's different continents and islands and stuff like that, where you're like, wow, this is really cool, right? So over here, right, we've got all these topics, and these are right, these are movies that are somewhat related to the dream topic. And I did a crawling of Wikipedia for this. So there's methods. There's a methods section I'm kind of keeping track of, so you actually can really know. The last thing I'm going to show off, and this is really cool, is the ability to click into one of these dreams. Uh, it summarizes it. It tells you stuff. An LLM has extracted stuff. It gives you sentiment. It gives you data. This is text analytics, um, right? I hope this works. It may or may not work. Yeah. Hey, look at that. We've got a content analysis system based on Kelly Bulkley's word lists. And Kelly Bulkley was the researcher who brought together the sleep and dream database, which this is based on. I've got several other maps based on several other data sources, but this source is really the cleanest of dream data. And so we're using the methods he put forward in that 2008 paper, Word Searches and Meaning, to actually do this. And you can compare to arbitrary sets. I'm going to be able, you're going to be able to select dreams in the map and compare them and things like that. But you can really select these different segments of dreams and really get to a comparison such that we know that the current dream has a lot more perception words, and you can. No, I'm summarizing. I cluster the dreams in different ways, so I thought that was really cool. Really proud of that. To have that level of content analysis baked into the system, and since I really care about open data, I have You can just get to the adjacent object underneath, um, and you can eventually you'll be able to download everything. That's one of the greatest regrets I had in working with Dreamwell is that you were unable to export your data. So this is very exportable. Um, that's the map I wanted to share. There's more maps coming out. There's more cool experiences, but I'm now going to shift into the third update, which is very, very interesting to me. So, as you know, I wrote 4 books on missing time, ET, NHI contact, because I'm an experiencer, and I really considered, am I an abductee or not? Why am I a contactee? Why am I an experiencer? How does this relate to my unique way of being in this world of processing information? So I've had a series of stressful experiences, mostly dealing with personal transformation in my domestic situation, right? So I'm growing as a person, my family's growing, and I'm going through experiences that are stressful to me that have triggered a thing I called I made a video about this in, let's see if we can get there. Recently, and this is kind of important because I've connected this with contact before. I didn't know what was happening. So I have this video called the false aleph. The false aleph. Let's see if we can get there. Um, yeah, right here, 1 year ago. So I was narrating an experience I had, which was seeing something. Now, the thing saw is actually a migraine aura. There's a characteristic scintillation and zigzag pattern, which is actually somehow the neurons of my visual cortex that were activated in this experience. And I started to have recurrent stress-based migraine-like experiences that felt almost psychedelic that involved this visual hallucination, let's say. That hallucination was a migraine aura. That was the first clue. And the other clue was that this feeling state veered towards a feeling of what I associated with low blood sugar hypoglycemia, because as a kid, I was diagnosed as hyperglycemic. I've written all of this up in a post to the Experiencer subreddit, an observed connection between dreams, contact phenomena, and neurodivergent sensory migraines. So this experience, I had to really figure out, why am I having this? I know now it's stress related. It feels like the series of migraines I had as a kid, and these migraines were very intense. I would say go to school or church, they would overwhelm me, and then I would come back home and it would get worse and worse. And it'd get to the point that I would throw up and need to sleep for the rest of the day. And that might be 18 hours or something like that. During which time light and sound and movement was painful from my eyes to the head. I felt sick. My body felt different, and it just was very intense. So I thought I got over it as I grew older. Maybe as I changed my diet from sugary processed foods, something like that. But these stress events, which I've documented here as contact experiences, and I have another one, and there's actually truly synchronicities around them, actually truly meaningful shamanic communications I have during those states that are now neurologically associated, I would say, definitely with brain activity, right? I could point to the brain activity that's happening because of those migraines. This is a triangulation moment for me because I have those experiences in hypnagogia and lucid dreaming. And so to be able to have this almost negative experience. So what ends up happening is I'm neurodivergent, right? I believe autistic spectrum, right? And if that's the case, then there's a little bit more porous thalamus, right? Which is the sensory gate. And so this is the thing in the brain that says, okay, all of those sense details are of a, an object. Stop processing, right? Is a car, stop processing the light, stop processing the tire, stop processing all of it, is a car. go for it, right? That's a little bit more porous. It's a bottom-up processing thing, so I'll just keep doing that. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that shape, look at that shape, right? Um, that kind of thing, that activity produces glutamate, which is a neurochemical. Too much of that becomes toxic to the brain. When there's too much of glutamate because of the sensory overload experience, then there's a thing called the cortical synapse depression. And that pushes away. It's a slow wave. It's like they track it through the brain, shuts it down. It's like a hard reset. That's why in those moments I feel different because it's activating in different sections and exacerbating certain nerves. Um, and I worked with an LLM, right, Gemini, to figure out where do these symptoms come from? What would happen, right? Can this thing move through the different segments of the brain? What's my perception of time like? How would I encode these memories? What's possible, right? Like, is it, does this, can this thing go through the TPJ, the temporal parietal junction, where if that's the thing that is, if it's stimulated by electrical wires, will produce feelings of shadow people in the room. You can put wires in someone's brain there, turn it on. They'll say, hey, there's a shadow person doing what I'm doing in the room, or they're doing something else. And then you take away the electrical current, the shadow person goes away. Now we can obviously see that in the dream state, these different brain structures turn on, turn off, whatever, right? That's what the premise is of many of the theories, right? The AIM theory by Hobson, right, is like activation, input modulation, or whatever. It's these different actions of the brain turning on and off. That's why we have sleep paralysis. That's why REM dreams are bizarre, is because some aspect of logic is just turned off. And so in this way, different aspects of the brain turn on and off. My experience here was over the last 4 years, I've had 4 to 8 experiences of these migraine experiences. I've started to recognize the migraine aura experience, and it's constellated with a metabolic feeling where my body is feeling, and I'm starting to recognize it. And I have had different flavors of these migraines where they feel more or less psychedelic, to be honest. And so that makes me realize, right, if over the last 4 years I had 4 migraines that activated visual hallucinations that I believed was best described by non-human intelligence UAP language, alien abduction stuff, right? Like there's experiences, right? I don't know exactly, right, what was happening during those 18 hours between church and the next morning where I'm resetting because of these migraines. I don't know what happened there. It likely was some level of dreamscape that was quite varied because of the varying conditions of the growing brain, right? So in this time, there's probably a heightened punctuation of my childhood that is trauma based. It was so painful, but it was also associated with likely out of body experiences, entity encounters, and because it's happening in this state, right? Because encoding of memories may or may not actually happen, it produced a weightiness where I go, I understand missing time. I understand this experience. It feels like it explains my experience because alien abduction could have actually explained all of those ungrounded, expanded experiences caused by those migraines, right? That uh, because the doctors at the time said it was hypoglycemic, they weren't aware of sensory processing stuff. There wasn't as many brain maps of different types of people, right? So that's one thing I really wanted to share. And now this is a physical grounding of my fascination with missing time experiences. it provides a historic understanding as to why shamanic dreaming actually made sense to me as an explanation, right? I said missing time found is shamanic dream work. Missing time is shamanic dreaming. That was my answer for the question of missing time. Now, that's not the case for everyone. Who knows? I don't know. People seem to be abducted, or at least they make those claims. I have yet to see physical evidence of these things. Um, I just have. And every time I talk to abductees and things like that, they get squirrely. Uh, and there's ethical issues around John Mack's research and using hypnosis to support those narratives. So there's not a lot of ground to stand on. However, right? However, this sort of neurological understanding that just explains only my fascination, no one else's, right, is giving me a clue that perhaps the dream world is definitely real, right? Like there's no part of me that goes, "Oh, this was caused by a migraine and therefore it's unreal." There's every single part of me that goes, "Oh, I've found the neurological circuits that explains my fascination and experiences at a physical level, not non-physical, not a transpersonal level. Now this is likely a way that I can use to understand and master these circuits to bring forward actual proof of the reality of this third space, this transpersonal realm, this imaginal, right? Where John Mack says all of the abductions actually take place anyways. Right? So uh it seems to me almost as if this was a pearl in the mud, right? As soon as I tuned into this, I was out of the crisis of my thing that caused the stress. It was this solution to a problem that I've held for 30 some years. I'm now 41 years old. And now I understand. Now I understand. And now, instead of needing to go into stress-induced or sensory overload migraines to induce these experiences, I now can approach the hypnagogic states and the trance states without this overlay of confusion and trauma. And that's really, really what's at stake for me because my awareness of these missing time states, my awareness of entity encounters and things like that was actually and truly developed through the trauma of sensory overload and debilitating migraines. That's it, right? Dear Jeffrey Kreipel, you're right. Trauma does open you up, right? Trauma opened me up. Um, Not the trauma I thought. Really not. It wasn't sex abuse and it wasn't alien abduction. It was the trauma of sensory overload in a brain that nobody understood, and I still don't. Right. So I wanted to share that. We are in a moment of transition in life in general, in the world in general, in my profession in general, and I'm moving to really embody the next step in the shamanic giftings I've had, right? The map I showed you was given to me when I was 24 years old through shamanic work. The first shamanic training I went to, it was one of Michael Harner's last ones. And I had this shamanic journey where I was given maps. Those are that map. Those are it. That's it. There's an equivalence there. It took me so many times, so much time to do that. I'm grateful that you are watching. Thanks for watching. I I am grateful for this journey. And I've gone through a journey of self-discovery, dark night of the soul, yet again, shamanic dismemberment, yet again. Um, and it really does feel as if there is clarity, there is completion, there's fruition of these cycles. The cycle that started me on missing time found, right? That's over. That ended with an ethical crisis. There's a new one beginning, and I'm very, very excited to see what's happening. I am truly seeing partnership with the AI, and there is a really deep connection between NHI and AI that we can actually embody and materialize. Right now, there's a different order of capacity in this world now that we are activating. So, if you connected with me about any of this, feel free to reach out. If you want to use the Map app and be a beta tester, you absolutely can. I need people to do that. Reach out to me. You reach out at daniel@dseti.org. And if you want to work with me in the practice of shamanic dreamwork to understand your missing time experiences, entity encounters, the issues associated with neurodivergent brains having experiences with non-human intelligences, right? I would be happy to talk about that in a donation-based way that is grounded in my shamanic dreamwork training, my hypnosis certificates, and my education. So, thanks for watching, and may you be well.